Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's council meeting being held in the council chambers here at Albury City for this Tuesday, the 11th of June. We'll start with the opening affirmation and acknowledgement of country. We gather to represent the people of Albury who have entrusted us with this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, wisdom and common sense. May our personal values give us honesty and courage to serve our community effectively and with respect for all. We would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people as the traditional custodians of the land that we meet upon today and pay our respect to the elders past, present and future, for they hold the memories, culture, tradition and hopes of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that contribute to our community. This council meeting is being webcast and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to being recorded and webcast. Please ensure that if and when you are speaking at this council meeting that you are respectful to other people and use appropriate language. Albury City accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. An audio recording will be made for administrative purposes. Item 3 on the agenda, conflict of interest declarations received and disclosure of political donations. Mr. Zachnich.
Thank you, Mayor King. No conflict of interest declarations received for this evening's meeting. The disclosure of political donations and the requirements of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act. The Act in section 10.4 requires a person submitting planning applications or submissions regarding a planning application to disclose any reportable political donation and or gifts to any local councillor or employee of the council. Reportable political donations include those of or above $1,000. In dealing with development applications, councillors need to take into account specific planning matters contained in the Act. Accordingly, the provisions of section 4.151 of that Act are set out in the Council Officer's report, detailing planning issues to be considered. The Local Government Act section 375A requires that a division be called whenever a motion for a planning decision is put at a meeting of the council. Planning decision means a decision made in the exercise of a function of council under the Act, including a decision relating to a development application, an environmental planning instrument, a development control plan, or a development contributions plan under that Act, but not relating or including the making of an order under Division 9.3 of Part 9 of that Act. Thank you, Mayor King.
Thank you. CM4 apologies. CM 4.1. There are none. CM 4.2 attendance by councillors at meeting by audio visual link. Councillor Bettridge.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor King, I move that council receive, note and accept the attendance of Councillor Cameron via audio visual link for the meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Bowen.
Thank you. I'd like to second that motion.
Thank you. Councillors, happy to put that motion. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. Thank you. CM5, Merrill Minute. There is none. CM6, action plans. Councillor Burley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move the following action plans be received and noted. 1 action is complete for noting only. 2 actions awaiting response from external parties. 3 actions in progress and 4 long-term issues more than 3 months.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken.
Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Councillors, any questions or comments? Councillor Glacken, question.
Thank you. Through you to the most relevant member of staff. My question is pertaining to page 17. Actions awaiting response from third parties. It's with reference to the taxiway Charlie extension and the fact that we've been holding up a contract. If I can find out if there's an update on that and the information from CASA. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms Squire.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Thanks for the question, Councillor Glacken. Yes, we have been able to confirm with CASA that the grandfathering provisions will definitively apply and we'll be finalising the contract shortly.
Thank you for that.
Councillors, any speakers for or against? In that case, happy to put the motion. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. Thank you. CM7, confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. CM 7.1, minutes of the council meeting held on Monday, the 27th of May, 2024 at 6:27 p.m. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move the minutes of the council meeting held on Monday, the 27th of May, 2024 at 6:27 p.m. be confirmed.
Thank you. Councillor Bowen.
Thanks a lot to second that motion, Mayor King.
Thank you. Any speakers for or against? In that case, we'll put the motion in relation to the minutes. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. Thank you. CM8, reports from community forums. There are none. Notices of motion, notices of rescission. There are none. CM10, presentations and deputations. There are none. CM11, reports or minutes of committees and working parties. CM 11.1, minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on Wednesday, the 15th of May, 2024. Councillor Gluckin.
Thank you. Through you to move the recommendation as a motion that council receives, notes and accepts the minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on 15 May 2024. And to clarify that I was in attendance as the substitute alternative delegate for Councillor Thurley. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bowen.
I'd like to second that motion.
Thank you. Councillor Gluckin, do you wish to speak to it at all?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers for or against? In that case, we'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. CM12, documents for sealing. Councillor Gluckin.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor King, to move the recommendation as a motion that council authorises its seal to be affixed to the documents outlined below in the presence of two signatories authorised to affix the seal pursuant of Regulation 400 of Local Government General Regulation 2021 and the council seal of management of legal documents and advice procedure. And it is to A, deed of assignment of lease, Dawson Family Superannuation to Dansel Proprietary Limited, Lot 5, DP 837400, Albury Airport, effective 1 July 2024. And it's file number 20/02986. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second the motion, making.
Thank you. Councillor Gluckin, did you wish to speak to it?
you.
Procedural. Councillors, we'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. CM13, officers' reports for consideration. CM 13.1, development application 10.2023.00040091.001, 186 Keitlers Road, Springdale Heights, 50 lot Torrens title subdivision. Councillor Gluckin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you to move the recommendation as we have in the report as a motion that council receives the contents of the report and grants consent to development application 10.2023.40091.1 for the 50 lot Torrens freehold title residential subdivision of Lot 2 in DP 806427, addressed as 186 Keitlers Road, Springdale Heights, subject to the conditions contained in the draft determination included at attachment 5 to this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bowen.
Thanks, Mayor King. I'd like to second that motion.
Thank you. Councillor Gluckin, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, I would like to say a few things to highlight for some councillors who, whilst they've read the report and know the background, I would like to highlight that this a similar development application came through to council some years ago and it was refused on a number of grounds, one of which was the access. And I would like to congratulate our staff for continuing to work with the developer and the developer as well for continuing to work with Albury City Council to bring this revised development to us that gets over the significant hurdles that were the reason for why it was refused previously. And the development is a great opportunity for that area now, and it meets the requirements. And it shows that the developer and the staff were able to reach a number of compromises to bring what is really largely a good development to us now. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Glacken. Question, councillor Bowen.
Thanks, Mayor King. Through you to the most relevant member of staff. Just wanted to inquire about the axe handle aspect of the development, and just checking, because I've got a couple of conflicting things that I'm pretty sure we've got clarified, but I just wanted to confirm that does the applicant now own the land that they're now coming off from Kotler's Road, or is it just an agreement with the landowner?
Mr. Christie.
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mayor King. So in regards to the land to the south, they have the owner's consent. They're not the owner of the land that provides the access road, which I think is 162 or 166 Kotler's Road, an adjoining property. But they do have the owner's consent for lodgement of the application to have an access road, public road through that property that then provides access from Kotler's Road, rather than, as Councillor Glacken had indicated, previous iterations had proposed access either from Berube or from Barron Vale and Babuka Court.
Great, thank you. That's excellent.
Thank you. Question, councillor Glacken.
Thank you very much. And through you to the most relevant member of staff. And it's really a question further to councillor Bowen's with reference to that access. What is the likely outcome if this development was to be approved tonight? What will the outcome be with that access? Will there then be further work undertaken? Is it likely that the developer will purchase that land? And I ask that question because what will happen in the future if access was at some stage to be denied if the development went ahead?
Mr. Christie.
Thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor King. So it's proposed to be a public road. So should they go ahead and construct the road, then access cannot be denied because that road will be dedicated to councillors as a public road. If your query was around whether the agreement between the two parties is watertight enough that they'll be able to go ahead with the application, not privy to those, and that doesn't become a relevant consideration for council. What's relevant for council is the fact it's going to be a public road, and that'll guarantee in perpetuity vehicular access from Kotler's Road to the proposed 50 lots. It's not via an easement or any other form of measure. It's perpetuity a public road.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. And a very quick follow-up through you to the most relevant member of staff. When will that road be declared a public road, or when will that access be flipped over to become a public road? So when's that guillotine?
Mr. Christie.
Yep. Thank you for the question. And for you, Mayor King, it'll have to be a public road prior to the release of the titles created as part of stage one, because that is the public road access for those titles.
Yep. Thank you very much. I just want to make sure that there was no, at what point it could be turned away, and wanted to make sure it wasn't after development had been allowed and commenced. Thank you.
Understood. Another question, councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor King. And to follow on from Councillor Glacken as well too, just in that space, I understand that land is zoned industrial. So that would be industrial land. We would be putting the access to the residential housing, correct?
Mr. Christie.
And thank you for the question for you, Mayor King. Mayor King, yes, it's zoned employment or industrial land. That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker 4, councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'm speaking for the development. I think the developer's been forgiving to the environment and keeping 65 of the 83 trees that are in that space. I'm glad that council has been able to work positively with the developer to reach an outcome with the access being off Kotler's Road. So I think it's a positive outcome moving forward and for the land in which it sits. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Callaghan. There are no speakers for or against. Councillor Glacken, did you wish to close debate at all, or happy to put the motion?
I think it's a good outcome for something that's been has taken some time to achieve, and it really shows that council staff and people in our community, the developer, were looking for a good positive outcome and they've achieved it. So congratulations to everyone.
Thank you, councillor Glacken. I'll put the motion, and given it's a development application, I'll call a division. Those for: councillor Cameron, Thurley, Callaghan, Edwards, Bowen, King, Betteridge, Glacken and Baker. That motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Item CM 13.2, heavy patching contractor panel, contract number 24/01292. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that council pursuant to section 178(1)A of the Local Government General Regulation 2021 New South Wales resolves to accept the following tenders for the establishment of contract number 24/01292, heavy patching contractor panel estimated at approximately $1.4 million, including GST for a 2-year period. A, LFT Bitumen Proprietary Limited, and B, DM Pavements Proprietary Limited, trading as Pavecon Solutions.
Thank you, councillor Betteridge.
Happy to second the motion, Mayor King.
Thank you, councillor Thurley. No, not speaking. Any speakers for or against or questions? If not, we'll put the motion, councillors. Those for, those against? That motion is carried. CM 13.3, provision of mowing services for parks, reserves and roadsides, contract number 24/00992. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that Council A, pursuant to section 178(1)A of the Local Government General Regulation 2021 New South Wales, resolves to accept the tenders from the respective companies as listed in the following table for separate portions, contract number 24/00992, provision of mowing services for council parks, reserves and roadsides, the 3-year term commencing the 1st July 2024 and ending 30 June 2027 for the lump sum amount of $1,718,115.20, including GST. And I suppose I have to read this whole table. I should have been a bit more reluctant to get into this one. I'll read the companies, the zones and the price. Double Gully Proprietary Limited, Lakehume Village, Thurgoona, West Albury, $222,261.01. Trevor J. Jones Commercial Mowing, North Albury and Springdale Heights, $111,600.03. UDL Group Proprietary Limited, East Albury, Lavington Roadsides, $1,210,128.15. Weekly Property Services Proprietary Limited, Albury, Glenroy and South Albury, $174,126.02. Total $1,718,115.20. B, establishes a council-wide panel for the ad hoc casual mowing services using the respective companies and rates as listed in the table below.
No need to list that
Thank
table.
you.
I think, councillor Thurley, we can certainly direct people, it is in the business papers, if they need to go into a bit more detail. Thank you. A seconder, councillor Bowen.
Thank you. I'll help councillor Thurley and second that motion.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley, did you wish to speak to the motion? Catch your breath. Any speakers for or against or questions? Councillor Bowen, a question.
Thank you. I have a question to the most relevant member, staff member, just regarding the ad hoc services. Just wanted to check that they are varying and wide, and I wanted to check that we will be just using your best value for the ad hoc services. Would that be correct in saying that? Because some of them are quite varied in their pricing structure.
Mr. Costello.
Thanks very much for the question, Councillor Bowen, and through you, Mayor King. Absolutely, I can confirm that we would be taking any ad hoc services on a case-by-case basis, and it would be assumed that the fees charged in that table would be comparative with the other contracted rates accordingly. But we would certainly be assessing them on a case-by-case basis to ensure that we've got the best value for council for any additional ad hoc works.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Happy to put the motion, councillors, if there are no further questions or comments. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. Thank you. Item 13.4, draft scope and stakeholder engagement plan for Service Excellent Project, Community Participation Plan Review. Do we have a councillor? Thank you. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that council receives and endorses the project scope and stakeholder engagement plan for the review of the community participation plan.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second the motion, Mayor King.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley, did you wish to speak to it at all? Any councillors wish to speak to the motion? In that case, we'll put the motion. Those for, those against, that motion is carried. Thank you. CM 13.5 precinct speed zone reviews. Councillor Bowen.
Thank you. I have an alternative motion. If I could have that on the board, that would be great. Thank you. I'd like to move that council endorse the development of a stakeholder engagement plan to undertake community consultation regarding the proposed precinct speed zone reviews, and B, following community consultation, a report detailing the outcomes and the options moving forward to be presented to council.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley.
Second the motion, Mayor King.
Thank you. Councillor Bowen, did you wish to speak to the motion?
I'll just reserve my right because somebody has some questions at this stage.
Speakers for, Councillor. Speakers for, Councillor Gluckin.
Thank you very much. Yes, I would very much like to speak for this, because I was actually going from the report and the options in the report. I was actually going to foreshadow an alternative motion should the motion I thought was going to be put forward would be lost. And that was because I believe that our community had, quite as it says in the report, had indicated through the MOVE consultation to our staff that they want to make sure our roads are safe. And the MOVE consultation was not about specific speed zones when that consultation was undertaken. And I believe that our community need to be consulted on the specific areas and the specific zones that are being put forward, or the speed zones within those areas. And I also know that one of the dangers we face is that if people are not happy with the speed zones, they will not necessarily adhere to them. And I also I'm aware that that can create even greater problems, because you have varying people travelling at varying speeds on those roads. So we need to make sure that the community is happy or in fact accepting of the suggestions being put forward. I would also like us as a council and the community to be considering the option of more specific zones within the zones that have been suggested. I think the zones that the staff have suggested at times may be over-embracing or over-large, and I think some refinement may be necessary. But the community, I believe, will tell us that when we ask them what they think of the suggestions that the staff are bringing forward. And I admit the staff are the experts. They work in the field of roads all the time. I just drive on them. But they're working in those fields all the time. They know the legislation. They know the quality of the roads, and therefore the speeds that those roads should be. They also are aware of the interrelationship between the various forms of transport and the fact that we are really, as a community, encouraging people to use alternative forms of transport, including the purple scooters. Can't remember their name, but the purple scooters. They're encouraging people to walk more. And we are encouraging people to ride bikes. But at the end of the day, the majority, very vast majority of our community drive vehicles, and nearly the entirety of our regional community who come to Albury because we're the regional centre come in their vehicles. And so we need to ensure that our roads remain compatible with vehicle users whilst also embracing alternative forms of transport. So I really want to thank the staff for putting this report forward, and the fact that we will now be asking our community to consult, or will be consulting with our community, asking them what they feel about these zones, and how we can take this forward as a community to ensure that we have the best possible outcome from this. Thank you. And can I highlight one thing, sorry, rather than put my light on again. Page 98, the second diagram at the bottom, the colours have sort of gone a little bit wonky in the key. And I was all excited because I thought the main CBD of Albury Central was being suggested it would be 50 kilometres because the yellow lines up with the 50. And it was only when I read the table, it seemed that the yellow had slipped from the 40.
Thank you. I know the CEO has taken note of that. Thank you, Councillor Galakan. Speaking for Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor King. I am speaking for the motion here this evening, and thank Deputy Mayor Bowen for the amendment that we've been presented with. Albury-Wodonga is the most car-dependent city in Australia, and historically our transport decisions have been made in isolation of each other. Neither system are integrated, accessible, affordable or sustainable. The draft MOVE strategy aims to tackle these barriers and improve the way we move around our city, with better connectivity, encouraging active transport, and with the aim of reducing emissions and making our cities more vibrant and livable. With consideration to these specific changes to speed, the community deserve an opportunity to have their say. Reducing the speed of traffic enhances safety, improves the pedestrian environment, reduces noise pollution, lowers emissions, improves traffic flow and slows cars in urban areas, which contribute to a more livable environment. However, lowering the speed is not the only way to improve safe passage for cars and pedestrians. I'm going to take this opportunity to raise a specific road of contention that is mentioned within the report. And Traffic for New South Wales must take responsibility for the roads in our community that they govern. I've been seeking mediation on Brella Road for the past year. Pedestrian crossings, traffic signals, pedestrian islands and refuge, flashing beacons, clear signage. Implementing a combination of these methods also supports the overall livability for people trying to access the hospital, sporting facilities, the local shopping precinct and their homes safely. The Barella Road and Riverina Highway Corridor Strategy, Section 9, dated the 23rd of the 3rd, 2020, notes that Keene Street is to be an intersection with recommendations to be upgraded with signs to reduce accidents and improve safety, allow protection for turning vehicles, provide full pedestrian connectivity and increase vehicle capacity and match widening of Barella Road. Implementation of traffic mitigation on Brella Road at Keene Street intersection to reduce traffic congestion, support flow of traffic, eliminate the likelihood of fatality or serious injury is vital. Transport for New South Wales Community Safety Project, which is Towards Zero 2026 Road Safety Action Plan, describes a safe road as roads are designed and built to be more forgiving and account for human error. If a driver makes a mistake, road infrastructure can significantly reduce the chance that it will result in a fatality or serious injury. We are seeing too many accidents in this stretch of road. To do this, we upgrade roads and improve design, separate road users as much as possible with median separation treatments. Change to speed zones should be considered, and so should other appropriate mitigation for pedestrian and vehicle safety. I'm glad that the community will have the opportunity to have their say on these issues and raise other concerns like Barella Road if they see fit. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker 4, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor King. The existing speed limits across the Albury LGA do not meet best practice guidelines such as the New South Wales Transport Strategy, the New South Wales Movement and Place Framework, the Safe Systems Approach, or MOVE, the Albury-Wodonga Integrated Transport Strategy. Existing speed limits prioritise vehicles, creating safety issues and resulting in high accident rates in key areas. MOVE, the transport strategy endorsed by this council in 2023, identified that a review of speed limits was required in order to encourage the uptake of alternative transport and, most importantly, to improve safety and amenity for all road users. So I think it's very reasonable to add a few seconds or minutes to trips for vehicle users for the safety of our community, particularly children. So I agree with the proposed changes to speed limits, but I also welcome this opportunity put forward by this alternative motion for further consultation with our community, and I look forward to hearing what they have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker 4, Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'd just like to reinforce what Councillor Edwards just said. I support the move concept in its entirety. I don't think an extra, well, Keitlers Road, the three, no, I won't go there, just about how many seconds you save over a certain stretch of road. But I was also happy with the speed limits suggested in the original recommendation, but I'm more than happy to hear from the public about it as well. And I think we'll get some really good responses. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker against, Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor King. I had intended, if the original motion had not got up, if it was moved tonight, to move motion for option number 3, which was to reject utterly this ridiculous report. This report attempts to, in a broad brush way, in an open slather way, to restrict many roads, speed limits in Albury. If there to be changes in speed limits, and there may be a need for a few, then it needs to be done on the basis of specific evidence of accidents, evidence of outcomes, evidence of how lowering the speed limit will actually achieve the desired outcome. We keep hearing this mantra as part of the MOVE plan that lowering speed limits increases safety. Well, if it's as simple as that, then why not lower all the speed limits to 20 kilometres? You know, and that will improve traffic flow too, we're told. That's the dogma. That's the rhetoric that's being used. I fear it has as much to do with in some circles, the desire to take people out of motor vehicular transport, which will never happen in provincial cities like Albury, and as it has to do with so-called safety outcomes. I'm not happy with the amendment. I think we're only postponing a hard decision that should have been made tonight to reject this report. And some councillors have already said tonight that they were comfortable with the proposed changes and the scale of the proposed changes and the number of the proposed changes. It's an absolute case of proposed overkill in the recommendation that was originally, or that is in the report tonight. And I think we should make the hard decision and reject it utterly rather than this watered down version, because we're only going to have to deal with it again when this comes back. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Question out, Councillor Gluckin.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to the most relevant member of staff. If we are to receive a further report, if this motion goes ahead tonight and we're to receive a further report, would the staff also include in the report back to us commuter routes and the commuter roads, noting, for example, Barella Road is a commuter road because it's the Riverina Highway, the old Hume Highway is a commuter road, David Street is a commuter road, etc. So those major linkages or linkage roads around the city, can they be included or some reference be provided with regard to them in any report that comes back to us? Because a lot of them are listed as 50 kilometres an hour or to be 50 kilometres an hour in the future on this plan. So how would they deal with that? And, you know, what's the community feedback on that?
Sorry, Mr. Lawson.
Yeah, thank you for the question, and through you, Mayor King. I guess we would take any comment from the community around the proposed speed zone changes as detailed in the report, and provide that comment back to council as part of the report that we would bring back to council, considering the options after that.
Can I clarify through you, Mayor King? The question is really pertaining to how, once we get the report, how that sits with the fact that Albury City needs to provide road infrastructure that gets people from A to B. And at one stage we were looking at, and I think we still are looking at, a ring road around Lavington, North Albury and over to Lavington to Thurgoona. So how are those link roads, linkages, major linkages for our commuters going to be dealt with? only the staff can tell us what their suggestion will be, because at the moment the suggestion is that they will be 50 kilometres an hour, or some of them will be 50 kilometres an hour. So I'm asking, we'll get a report back, and that will be on what the community thinks is before them or being presented to them. But in addition to that, can we get some clarity on commuter routes within the city and commuter roads, and how it is that we as a council believe we're going to get our people to be able to travel around the community. So there are higher road traffic roads. How are they going to be assessed?
Mr. Lawson?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Mayor King. The transport team has made the suggested proposals based on the use of those roads. As I said, as in the entirety, the report will be placed out for community consultation, and we will allow council to consider that consultation in the report that will come back to council, and make and provide some options around what those speed zones might be based on that consultation.
Okay. Yeah, I think that means it might include other levels of, yeah.
I'll just get clarification, Mr. Zachnich.
And thank you, Mayor King. And further to Mr. Lawson's response, once that information, community feedback and potential options for council to consider comes back to council, then, as was indicated earlier, we still then need to refer the matter, if council is wishing to proceed with one or more of those speed zone changes, council still needs to refer that matter to Transport for New South Wales. The final decision on changes to speed zones is not within council's delegation. It is a matter for Transport for New South Wales. So what we're enabling, as I understand it this evening, is to provide that early consultation, feedback and input from our community back through the councillor group for consideration to identify any changes council sees fit or sees recommendations from the team for council to consider. The process after that is to submit any of those changes supported by council to the Transport for New South Wales group to consider formally through their process. So there's a number of iterations of further assessment and consideration after our community consultation and report back to council. Just trying to get those steps in order for you.
Thank you. I've got a question, just given that you've mentioned Transport for New South Wales, and we know that, so a question to the most relevant member of staff. We know that they're charged with improvements to the Thurgoona Drive interchange. Would there be consideration for them to improve that, to get that right, before they might sort of look at reductions for the Riverina Highway, for example? Because I hear quite often that a lot of people go into Albury or Wodonga via the Riverina Highway because of access and queuing issues at Thurgoona Drive. In some senses, it could seem counterintuitive to be having a 60k speed limit on a Riverina Highway when the Thurgoona Drive interchange isn't functioning as optimally as it could be. So would they take that into consideration, given that department is responsible, and much like Councillor Callaghan has said with the Barella Road issues, or would it just a total team not even look at some of those other issues that we have?
Yeah,
Mr. Lawson?
Thank you for the question, Mayor King. The speed zoning guidelines would be utilised to make those decisions. As to whether Transport would consider future works for Thurgoona Drive interchange at that point in time, that's something I would need to discuss with Transport to determine if that would be a consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan has a question.
Thank you, Mayor King. To the most relevant staff member. Raised here this evening, Councillor Cameron has talked about evidence, and Councillor Glacken has talked about our major commuter roads. And I think what needs to probably be encompassed in the report too is the prevalence of incidences. Many of these roads are owned by Transport for New South Wales, and they're state roads. And, where is the evidence for it? And I think it's important for people to know statistically how many accidents are happening in certain intersections, and to make informed decisions based on evidence. And I think Transport for New South Wales, so it's public information. I can look up how many accidents are at Keene Street as a perfect example, which I have, but I think it's important for the community to know that and to be reported back to the councillor group at the time. Is that possible?
Mr Lawson?
Yeah, thank you for the question through you, Mayor King. Yes, certainly we can provide some of that data around incidents and accidents on those roadways to inform the decision as well.
Thank you.
You, Speaker 4, Councillor Bowen, who reserved his right. Did you wish to also sum up if there's no further comments? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that the alternative motion got lots of discussion and debate, which is great to see. That was actually the whole idea, is because I think it's important that we have our community along for the ride with us, and literally in that scenario, just to change roads with a big sweeping brush and their speed limits, without also incorporating design changes as well too. I think there's a number of things that we could do within our council and within our roads to make them safer, rather than just swipe a brush and take everything down a little bit. We also want to make sure that we've got a good flow, and as the Mayor described as well too, to make sure that we are fixing some intersections that even aren't ours. So we're advocating for those within this program, and whilst we advocate to Transport New South Wales. But once again, we want to make sure that the roads are safe, but there definitely are some arterial roads and some main commuter roads that I think improve the flow of traffic, and making sure that we make this city much more livable and much more easy to get around for everybody. So I hope the councillors will go forward with this. I would like to see some changes within that. There are some speed reductions that I totally agree with within this report, but I just think it's too big a sweeping brush to do them all at once in that scenario. I think each of the zones have actual zones within them that could also play a different part as to reasoning why there might be a speed change or a design change. It's very easy just to put a new speed limit on and say, yeah, we've fixed it. But I think we can do better than that, and hence the reason for the alternative motion.
Thank you, Councillor Bowen. I'll put the motion, councillors. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Next on the agenda is CM 13.6, Draft Cultural Strategy Scope and Stakeholder Engagement. Do we have Councillor Thurley? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that council endorses the scope and stakeholder engagement plan for the development of a draft Albury City Cultural Strategy 2025 to 2030.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second the motion, making.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley, did you wish to speak to it?
Briefly, I mean, this is a very comprehensive report, and it's a very important report in itself, looking at the cultural strategy of Albury. There are a lot of elements, and to have this engagement plan formulated and go out is a really great idea.
Thank you. Any other speakers for or against? Councillor Glacken, Speaker 4.
Yes, I agree with Councillor Thurley, and thank you for the opportunity. Whilst there appear to be no speakers against, I would like to also speak very highly of the report, but also including the fact that we have such a wonderful cultural offering in our city, and much of it really underpins the 2050 strategy that we have, and council has worked for a number of years now, a number of 10-year plans towards enhancing the cultural opportunity within our community, and has had significant support from our community, but also our regional community, because it is they who support our cultural facilities and services that we have within our community. And if it were not for our community, those cultural offerings would not be as successful and would not be continuing to grow and develop as they are. So we are really fortunate that many of them now have their own momentum because they have grown to such a strength. And I think that needs to be highlighted and clearly shows the opportunity that we now have to further that work. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Glacken. We'll put the motion, councillors. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. CM 13.7, Albury City Investment Policy and Procedure Review. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that Council A endorses the annual review of Albury City's investment policy and procedure, and B adopts the proposed administrative updates to the investment policy and procedure as presented to Council.
Thank you, councillor Bowen.
I'd like to second that motion.
Thank you, councillor Edwards. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, to say that it's great to see that our current policy is working really well and that nearly half of our investments are with institutions that do not support the fossil fuel industry. So I'm more than happy to support this annual review and minor administrative updates to the policy.
Thank you, councillor Edwards. If there's no other speakers for or against, we'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. CM 13.8, Draft ARIC Internal Audit Charter. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that council adopt the updated draft internal audit charter to ensure compliance with the Local Government General Amendment Audit Risk and Improvement Committee's Regulation 2023.
Thank you, councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Second.
Councillor Thurley, did you wish to speak to it? Any speakers for councillor Glacken? Did I accidentally turn you off? No. In that case, sorry. Happy to put the motion then. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. Thank you. CM 13.9, Local Government Remuneration Tribunal 2024 Annual Report and Determination. Councillor Bettridge.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor King, I'd like to move that Council A receives a notes report on councillor and mayoral fees for 2024-2025. B fixes the annual fee payable to each councillor at $27,048 for the 2024-2025 financial year, pursuant to Section 248 of the Local Government Act 1993 in brackets New South Wales, and in accordance with the Local Government Remuneration Tribunal's 2023 Annual Report and Determination. C fixes the annual fee payable to the Mayor, in addition to the fee payable under Section 248 at $66,805 for the 2024-2025 financial year, pursuant to Section 249 of the Local Government Act 1993 brackets New South Wales, and in accordance with the Local Government Remuneration Tribunal's 2024 Annual Report and Determination. And D fixes the annual fee payable to each Audit Risk and Improvement Committee independent member of $5,580 and an additional $2,170 for the chair for the 2024-2025 financial year, pursuant to Section 249 of the Local Government Act 1993 brackets New South Wales, and in accordance with the Local Government Remuneration Tribunal's 2022 Annual Report and Determination.
Thank you, councillor Bettridge. Councillor Thurley.
Second the motion, Mayor King.
Thank you. Councillor Bettridge, did you wish to speak to it at all?
No, thank you, Mayor King.
No problems. Any speakers for or against? In this case, I'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. CM 14, Officers' Reports for Noting. CM 14.1, New South Wales Auditor General's Report on Local Government 2023. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that council receives and notes the New South Wales Auditor General's Report on Local Government 2023.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second, Mayor King.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley, did you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mayor King.
Any speakers for or against? If not, I'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. Thank you. CM 15, Delegates' Reports for Noting. We have none. CM 16, Notice of Urgent Business. We have none. CM 17, Confidential Matters. We have none. I'll declare the meeting closed at 6:49 p.m.